Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to Starbucks. I am your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we got our co-host, Jim Rosati. Jim, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Pirates are coming off a win. Not a series win, but at least a win. So we haven't seen a lot of those. So you know what? Celebrate your wins.
2 of them in the month of May. Congrats, Pittsburgh Pirates.
Look at us.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? 2 wins.
Right. Yeah, 2 wins for the month of May. Not good stuff, but both wins coming from just pure dominance by Mitch Keller. That is something to talk about.
Yes, absolutely incredible performance for him this past week. And let's talk about it. Yeah, let's talk. Well, we don't necessarily need to talk about his performance. I think we talked about that enough on the post-game shows, but and then on NS9 Live last week. But let's talk about what a Mitch Keller extension might sound like.
Let's do it then. I think it's been an internal debate with us. We've talked about it, like, is Mitch Keller a guy you want to extend? And I know you've talked about it a bit of, just pitchers in general. Like, is that someone you want to really extend? You want to extend more like position players and such, which they have gone and done. Hayes is extended. They finally got the Reynolds deal done. Hopefully Cruz gets done here soon enough or something, right? And you've heard Bob Nutting talk about, like, they're not finished with extensions either. So, we've kind of told the idea, is Mitch Keller a guy you even want to extend? What's that going to look like? Jim, is Mitch Keller a guy you want to extend?
Mitch Keller is a guy I want to extend. Yes. And
so we've come definitely around to it at this point in time.
Yeah, I'm all in. The guy has completely turned around his career. He looks like just a dude now. And someone who looks like he could anchor a staff for a few years going forward. So if the Pirates are looking to compete, over the next 4-5 years, you're gonna want Mitch Keller on all of those.
I am absolutely with you. I wasn't sure about Mitch Keller. Ironically enough, didn't we just have a conversation and it was like, if you had to choose just one player on NS9 Live, would it be Mitch Keller or would it be Onel Cruz? And I mean, it was a good question and actually a good debate. And, I think Tyler and I both agreed with Mitch Keller just because, like, the window, and Mitch Keller follows up that argument with this game yesterday of 7 innings, 13 Ks, 4 hits, no walks. I mean, just pure dominance against a good lineup. This is back-to-back starts, has been pure dominance. And now for the season, it's been pure dominance. He has shown, like the thing I talked yesterday was, we can debate if he is an ace. He'll prove to us whether he is or not. But what he has shown is he has every tool that you need to be an ace. Everything. He can strike you out. He can induce weak contact. He has the mentality. He can go the distance. Like, everything that you want in an ace, Mitch Keller has at this point in time of his career. So I think, as we're talking about with, extensions and such, I think now's the time. Like, he's proven to you he is a good pitcher. We can find out how good of a one he is, but he is a good pitcher. He has arrived. He's an MLB caliber rotation guy for a playoff team. Let's get this done. There's a window coming. Mitch Keller needs to be that dude.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You got to lock him up. And what's kind of interesting is these are questions that Ben Cherington has been asked. They're questions that Mitch Keller has been asked over the last week. And both sides kind of had similar responses. So it makes you think that they've at least gone to the table already, which is a good sign. Contract extensions, negotiations, they're not going to be things that just happen in a day or two. It's going to be like a relationship that you're going to have to cultivate over a period of time. And so the fact that both sides are kind of seem like they're on the same page, and it looks like that page is, yeah, we want an extension. We've been talking about it. Still some things we need to work out, but we're kind of both here to play, right? It takes two to tango type of thing. It sounds like both parties are willing to tango at this point, at least publicly. So yeah, let's see if we can knock something out and get something done. Something during the season would be great. If we have to wait till the off season, that's fine too. But yeah, I think this is definitely something the team should explore. It's something Mitch Keller would probably want to explore. Guaranteed money by a pitcher is always
Right.
an attractive thing. So yeah, there's reasons to want to get something done on both sides.
Yeah, 100%. I think, like you said, on both sides, it's very advantageous. So the Pirates have this guy locked up. They see he's good. They finally turn around, and like, there's a bit of that too. Like he was a bad pitcher under us. He became a good pitcher, and I think for both sides, that's a success story. That's the reason why you want to lock him up. Like you want to hold on to the guy that you fixed. Like think about Nunning's quotes. How come all these guys leave and they become better? I'm tired of seeing that, kind of paraphrasing him, like you finally found a guy that you turned around. So maybe keep that guy and you can, see the fruits of his labor. And then for Mitch Keller on the side too, maybe there's a bit of, hey, you guys believed in me. You stuck with me. Here I am. Let's work something out. I appreciate that. Let's come together, opposed to maybe I've arrived and I'm getting paid. See you guys later. I'm becoming a free agent. I'm sure there's a bit of that to Mitch Keller. So I think for both sides, they kind of come together and see that, and let's get an extension done. So let's maybe talk about like what an extension would look like for Mitch Keller. And I think, with him, it's maybe a little bit tricky because, I mean, essentially, Jim, he went from, and we talked about this graphic a year ago. He went from the worst pitcher in baseball to now we're talking, is he an ace? There was not really like this coming to age part, like where like he just went through his little rookie stuff and became like a better pitcher. He just like was bad. Is Mitch Keller gonna get DFA'd to just, he's an ace? So I don't know how many pitchers you can really comp to that like trajectory, but we have some comps to kind of talk about like what we might see to get a Mitch Keller deal done.
Yeah, I think there's two particular deals to look at to kind of use as a framework for Mitch Keller. And so looking last night, we kind of were like, hey, who are some pitchers that kind of fall in the same boat? And we were struggling to find somebody that had like the exact same amount of service time as Keller at the time of the extension. And we were struggling to find somebody with like a pitching profile as Keller. So the two people that came the closest though were Christian Javier from the Houston Astros and Pablo Lopez for the now Minnesota Twins. So you look at both of them, both very similar in age. They were within a year of Mitch Keller when they signed their extensions. The difference there is, Pablo Lopez signed his extension a year later into his career. If we're talking about an extension, right now or this offseason for Keller, Pablo Lopez is basically a year further into his career. Christian Javier is a year earlier into his career as Mitch Keller. But you look at those two deals and you can say, okay, if Mitch Keller is kind of in between these two in terms of service time, and he's probably, you could argue that, the ceiling for Keller with the way he's pitching right now, he's very similar to both of these guys, probably closer to Javier than Lopez. I don't know if Lopez has ever put up this dominant of a stretch in his career, but Lopez had a really, really good like last pre-ARB year, right? So both of those pitchers, Pablo Lopez, Christian Javier, I think they're relatable comps that we can look at and say Keller probably needs to be in this area, right? And so when you look at those deals, Christian Javier, again, signed a year before Keller, service time wise, but 5 years, $64 million. Pablo Lopez, again, a year later, his is a 4-year deal, but you can kind of take into effect like, okay, Pablo Lopez is at an arbitration this year. If you were to just kind of include that second ARB year, which is what Keller would be, Lopez would be at a 5-year, $79 million deal. Right. So that's kind of what we're working at. We've got a 5-year, $65 million deal on one end, a 5-year, $79 million deal on the other. I think with where Keller is in his career, you look at those two deals and you say, all right, Keller should get somewhere in between those, right? So I think Bucko Mike kind of he hit the nail on the head. We were
I
talking about
know.
this last night, and like what's great, like we kind of landed on this, like 5 years, $70 million. I think that right there, like, and I mean, give or take a few million, but that right there, that's the sweet spot for a Mitch Keller deal. Just kind of based off of like what else has gone, what else has happened in the starting pitcher landscape with pitchers who are kind of similar to him with somewhat similar service time. So I think, yeah, 5 years, 70 million, like anywhere between 5 years, 5 years, 65 to 5 years, 75, somewhere in that window is, I think, where you want to be with Keller. The 5 year
Yep.
part buys out 3 free agency deals and his final 2 ARB years. So, yeah, I think that like that's 5 years, 70, Bucko Mike. That's pretty much. I think that's where that's a good place to start.
Yeah, I fully agree. And to kind of talk about those, with Pablo Lopez, I think we've had this debate as well. I like Pablo Lopez a lot, right? You keep saying, well, he's just a guy. But regardless, like he is a good pitcher. He goes to Minnesota. He's pitching well right now. But you're right. What we've seen right now from Mitch Keller, like the change in Mitch Keller, like I think the ceiling on Mitch Keller is way higher than Pablo Lopez. Pablo Lopez to me is a fine number 3 pitcher. Where Mitch Keller's shown he could be an ace. There's that potential, And so like going to the Javier thing, Javier has been a dude like his whole time. It's like you're talking about like the trajectory, the comps, like Mitch Keller just became this person right now. But the person he became, the ceiling sky high on. Javier has a career 3.10 ERA and 351 innings he's pitched. Like he's been a dude from day one. But mind you, like you said, he's got another year of ARB under him as well. So there's 3 years of ARB compared to 2 years of Mitch. So, you're buying out less years. There's more free agent years out there. And that's why I think you're right. Like that is kind of like that sweet spot. Javier kind of presents like this is what Mitch Keller could be going forward. So, you consider the one less year of ARB in there. Yeah, I think that's pretty much a sweet spot. I think that setting number is like that perfect number. Now, of course, we just saw the Hayes contract last season. You had the whole debate with Reynolds, and we saw that contract. So something tells me we're talking 70. The Pirates will find some way to work out 62 or 60. And that's what that'll be, because so far of these 2 extensions, and here's Bucko Mike saying the Reynolds contract might be a waste. Hey, you and I, we know where we stand. That contract looks pretty team friendly again, right? As we talked with the Hayes one, even with Hayes, if he doesn't hit, that's still very team friendly contract. So I don't know. Maybe there'll be some, and I say Pirates magic in the sense that they'll work out a deal. We say 70 is probably that sweet spot, but like I'm not going to be shocked if we see some 60 or $55 million deal, and that's what happens. But yeah, 70 seems like a perfect number. Those 2 comps seem like a very, very good fit.
Yeah, I think like if I'm Mitch Keller, those are the two deals that I'm working with and saying I deserve this type of money. Right? Like that's what I'm looking at. And what's good is you at least have some framework here to work on. And yeah, I mean, based on the other 2 extensions that we've seen, yeah, 570 seems fair, just us talking, but it's also hard if you're a pitcher to turn down 565 or 560. Like that's a lot of guaranteed money for a starting pitcher who has struggled the majority of his career. So yeah, if you're the Pirates,
that's still life-changing money.
Oh yeah, and so if you're the Pirates, yeah, you're going to try to get Keller down as far as you can. So yeah, maybe we do see a little slightly more friendly deal in like the 560 range, but I think that's like 570 is a really good area to start in, and kind of work your way from that, because yeah, that's what pitchers like Keller have been getting elsewhere. So I think that's a good spot there.
That's right. Mitch Keller tied for 11th in MLB for the best ERA. Tied with Framber Valdez, also Houston Astro.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about. Like, this is the level that Mitch Keller has arrived to. Is he going to stay at a 2.38 ERA all season long? That we can debate, right? But like, here's where he's at. So I'm all for the extension. That seems like about a good sweet spot there, and hopefully they do get it done soon. I would love to see it get done this year and not so much this offseason, but that's very highly possible. All right,
Here we go.
should we get into our second shot?
Let's do it.
Talk about the this upcoming series.
Prospects.
Oh, prospects in the first. Okay. Don't mind me. I don't know orders. All right, let's talk about the prospects. I mean, hey, listen, we've had plenty of talk about Henry Davis and Andy Rodriguez this past week, especially on our NS9 game day. So I don't think we need to go too deep into them unless you really want to again. But who do we want to talk about this week?
There's a couple guys who, have been emerging a little bit in the lower levels. Let's talk about Rodolfo Nolasco.
Okay.
In single A Bradenton. He is repeating the level. He's 21 years old, so like he's pretty age appropriate. You would hope that somebody like him would be doing well. I'm actually kind of surprised he's repeating the level because the overall numbers were pretty decent last year. The strikeouts were definitely like the one eye-popping thing that you're like, yeah, these need to get a little bit better. But Nolasco, depending on what list you're looking at, is going to be kind of a fringy, borderline top 30 guy on this team. But so far, so good. Repeating Bradenton. He's hitting 310, 429, 569. He's crushing the ball. 174 weighted runs created plus. He's walking 16% of the time. The strikeouts are down, but still higher than you want to see them. Like Bucko Mike said, yep. I'm assuming he said yep about Nolasco. Strikeouts a little higher of late. So that's the concerning part there with Nolasco, and that was his concern last year as well. But someone with a ton of power. So you want to see him. You want to see him work out. International signing. But so far, he's showing signs of improvement in Bradenton. But yeah, you do want to see those strikeouts go down a little bit.
Yeah. I want to talk about a little bit.
Who do you want to talk about?
A cursed name, and we felt bad for this guy since getting signed to the Pirates. Michelle Polanco. I know, like, the numbers overall don't really support too much. I mean, he's batting 161. And the 32.4% K rate. All things that you talk about in the minor leagues and say, not good stuff. You definitely don't want to see it. But he has been killing the ball lately. And he had some mighty struggles. But yeah, he's been making a lot of hard contact lately. Some of that doesn't show the box score. So a lot of this stuff I've been getting from seeing, other people talk about and such, especially like Anthony Murphy and whatever on Twitter. But it sounds like he's starting to maybe put things together a little bit. So again, numbers aren't there, but that's a guy I'm kind of looking at right now to see if they're going to see like a turnaround in the season or such. Because again, like the batting average has been very, very poor, and that K rate's up there. But yeah, just kind of talk about him a little bit, and he's certainly has been an intriguing prospect. I mean, he was signed to that big.
He was I
international
believe,
deal,
the largest international signing in Pirates history.
Right. I kept thinking external. I'm like, it's not external. What are we talking about? It's the money that I love to talk about. External. It's international money. So yeah, he was signed to that big deal. So the guy is, you kind of want to keep on your radar. Production isn't there. It's almost like the Tamar Johnson thing.
2.35 million. 2.35 million for Polanco.
There you go. But yeah, so also in Bradenton as we're at right now.
Yeah, I think the thing that's probably most exciting about Polanco is the power. He is young. He's 19 years old, playing his first season of full season ball. And yeah, he's hitting the ball hard when he makes contact, and it's he's got 4 home runs on the year. A lot of those have come just in the last like 2 weeks too. So yeah, striking out again, kind of higher than what you want to see. That's kind of that's sort of the theme on a lot of these guys, especially in Bradenton and Greensboro. There's some people who are doing some things that you want to see, but the strikeouts are a little concerning and something to keep an eye on. Like I said,
Sure.
definitely you want to see those strikeouts go down. But yeah, I mean Polanco's walking at a 13% clip, striking out about 32% clip. So again, pretty high for low A ball. But yeah, he's not hitting that well if you kind of look at his overall body of work. But agreed, like based off of what we're seeing, Andrew Murphy, he's a great follow. Anthony Murphy, great follow on Twitter. Make sure you check him out because he's going to be posting highlights and updates on all these guys. But
For
Polanco,
sure.
for somebody he's a little excited about here as of late.
Yep. Cool. Anybody else in Bradenton you want to?
No one in
Discuss?
Bradenton. I mean, skipping over to Greensboro, a couple of guys who, quite frankly, I've kind of lost interest in. But same thing. Like I got an argument actually this week on Twitter about like these guys need to strike out less if they want to be considered serious prospects. But at the same time, the strikeouts are still there. However, they're producing, and it's two outfielders who have good pedigree, Sammy Ciani and Hudson Head, both of them. And they kind of just they profile in a similar way where they're both lefty bats. They're both the exact same age too. They're both 22. And they both seem to have some power to them. Both of them sitting at 4 homers on the year. Both of them last year, probably not the power you wanted to see over the course of the season. But they both walk a lot, but they both strike out a lot. But you look at Ciani in particular, he's walking at a 19% rate this season. His on-base percentage is up to 409. He's hitting the ball better. So like it's his highest batting average he's had in his minors, highest OBP, highest slugging. So Sammy Ciani's he's repeating Greensboro, as is Hudson Head. But both of them have taken a step forward this year. Again, the strikeouts are the one concerning thing. Both of them have taken, a step forward in that spot. Like they're both striking out at a better rate this year than they were last year. But both of them performing pretty well in Greensboro. And I feel like every night over the last week or so, I think Ciani homered twice last week. He's homered 4 times in the last 2 weeks. Hudson Head homered last week. Yeah, the two of them together have been pretty hot lately.
Yeah. I think it's fair though. Like you talk about them because they are producing, but in my mind too, I'm kind of past them.
Yeah.
Like there's still a lot that worries me about Hudson Head. That like
Yeah.
him just not really being a prospect to have much interest in. But to be fair, you shouldn't just write him off completely yet.
Yeah. Now, like this is kind of like a shut up or leave kind of year for both of them. If neither of like they need a year like this to perform because they are 22 at high A. They've been in the minors for 4 years now. They were both 2019 draft picks. So yeah, I mean you gotta in 4 years in the minors, you gotta figure out how to get to Double A.
Right.
And they're both showing signs of improvement, but they're not where you want them to be ideally. But just again, maybe you don't completely 100% write them off. You're just at like a 95% write off right now. And they're two guys who can hit the ball hard. They can both hit the ball hard, but it's just a matter of doing it more consistently.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. To the pitcher side, pretty much the same. That we talked about last week. I mean, Solomito, there's Bubba Chandler, Chandler didn't have like the greatest start this past time, but again, like he is certainly a project. One guy we haven't talked about, like I think at all, and of course, like the performance hasn't really warranted, but to bring him up, like Yu Chen, he was also talking about international signings and such, and we did see him this year in Bradenton, in Pirate City, taking the mound with a lot of press around, watching him pitch. So again, someone you want to keep your eye on, but in his debut in professional baseball in the States, it hasn't gone well so far. He's got a 6.75 ERA in 25. I'm sorry.
That was Jun Suk Shim, by the way.
Yeah, my bad.
Saw. But Yu Chen's been around for a while and has had pretty impressive numbers in the minor leagues. At least that first, like he kind of broke on the scene with that insane complex league that he had.
I'm an idiot, by the way. Season. I feel terrible.
But he's, I mean, he's certainly interesting. He does a lot of things well, but the numbers haven't been great really since he's gotten out of the complex league. He played okay in Bradenton last year. He's definitely someone still to keep an eye on. Like he's a top 30 prospect.
Right. Yeah. Not having the best season right now. But I still have my eye on him.
Yeah. So
there's that.
I think that'll do it for Greensboro. Yeah, Solometto walked a lot of people this past outing. Probably his worst start from a command standpoint. Struck out 6, walked 6, and 4 2/3 in his start this week. You mentioned Bubba Chandler. He did get rocked. We've talked about him, though, a lot, and just someone you're just going to have to be patient with. Just not a lot of pitching. Moving to Altoona, we've said enough about Henry Davis, I think. I don't know how much we need to harp on him. But
best hitter in
there's there is a lot of noise, I guess, from people who have been watching Altoona about Peguero, saying that the numbers aren't quite there yet, but he looks like he's starting to turn a corner, hitting the ball hard, putting together good at bats. The thing with Peguero to watch is I mean, obviously you need the bat to come around. If the bat doesn't come around, then the rest doesn't matter. But you also want to see him look pretty good defensively. If you read Pirates prospects, I know Tim Williams has a feature coming out about Peguero. That should be out either today or coming up soon. So look for that if you're a Peguero fan or want to get a good update on him. Apparently Tim was in Altoona last week and came away pretty impressed. So he's writing an entire article on how impressed he was with Peguero. So we'll see what he saw. The numbers aren't there. And even last week, where if you just say, how did you do last week? Numbers weren't there, but apparently there's something there something there that was noticeable.
And just to expand a little bit, I mean, Peguero was a guy I talked about last week. I wanted to bring up because overall the season numbers aren't there, but like you look at his past like 2 weeks, he's been clicking. It's been turning around a little bit. I think I highlighted like the strikeout rate, the walk rate are really nice. And at that time in those 2 weeks, he had like a batting average, like a 303, I think, something like that. Like things were clicking. This past week, right after I talked, the batting average is really low, but very BABIP heavy. But like the K rate still 13.8% this week. I'm not writing him off either, but I think like his big thing too is like a big issue with the Pirates organization. It's a lot of middle infielders, and they're not the best hitters as is, and they're certainly not the best fielders. So like, where are these guys positioned? Like Peguero fits that spot. Even if the bat does come along, where's his glove play?
Right.
So there's still a lot of development from him. Certainly not writing it off, but I'm interested to see like what they're going to talk and say about him.
Yeah, because like if you're going to be a second baseman, like it seems like he might be, you're going to have to hit better than if you were a shortstop.
Right.
Just plain and simple. So,
and if you can't be a second baseman, then you really have to hit better than a second baseman.
Yeah. So. Yeah, we'll see. I'm interested there because he's definitely. I mean, you want to see him succeed. The age is still good. Like he's definitely not someone you want to give up on. He's still a top 10 prospect on this team. Like he's someone that you want to see come around for sure.
He's talented.
Yeah, he's got all the tools that you want.
Right.
I think that's it for Double A. Unless there was someone else you wanted to touch on.
No, there's a guy I want to touch on. We talked a little bit of the last week. Maybe talk him again, coming back from an injury. Certainly because you're seeing the shortstop play the Pirates. I want to talk about Jared Triolo again.
Okay. Good first week in AAA.
Yeah.
Good first week in AAA. Yep.
You definitely expanded upon him last week, how, him coming back from injury, he could be a guy that you want to maybe see fast track, once they feel he's right, getting him to the Pirates. Because, there's a Chris Owings right now handling shortstop. And we know how good Triolo's glove is. So maybe he's the answer per se at shortstop, short term right now. So like as long as the bat's good enough, and so far, so good. 18 plate appearances, but in those 18 plate appearances, batting 294, 333, 412, 2 doubles in his 5 hits. So again, it's small sample. It's not like, okay, let's get him here, but this is what you want to see. Like he's doing what you want to see right now at this point in time. So yeah, maybe he is on his way soon, Jim.
Yeah, we mentioned this, him being a guy to look at as far as someone who can maybe step in and take that shortstop role while Cruz is out. Kind of a little bit. I was expecting him to get some more playing time at shortstop. So he played 4 games in AAA, played 3 games in Single A on rehab, and so his 7 games in the field so far have all been at third base. Which maybe that's just, hey, welcome back. Focus on hitting for now and do what you're most comfortable with. I don't know what that is, because I know that if I'm the Pirates, I'm looking for someone who can play shortstop right now. And so I'm seeing if Triolo is capable of handling the position on a, like a fairly semi everyday basis. So just something to watch. Again, I was surprised not to see him there at all this week, because let's be real, if Jared Triolo wants to make the majors, it's not going to be as a third baseman for the Pirates, at least. Maybe someone else, but Jared Triolo is not making the majors as a third baseman for the Pirates. It's not happening. They kind of have that position on lockdown for the next 7 years, right? So what do you do with Triolo? If you're Triolo, hey, I want to make the majors, there's a hole here that I can play. Let's try that. Let's try that angle. So yeah, I'm surprised to see no shortstop starts at all so far this season. Something to keep an eye on. If the guy's not going to play shortstop in the minors, he's probably not going to play shortstop in the majors. So then we have to start looking elsewhere.
Yeah, I feel like you can go 2 ways with this. Let's also take note that the guy who's in charge of making that decision has come out and said, in order for Endy and Henry to get called up, they have to play more than 18 games at catcher position, and then continues to not put them at catcher in the minor leagues.
Right.
So there's precedent for this, Jim.
There is precedence for things that don't make sense position-wise.
Right.
O'Neal Cruz had to spend 3 weeks in the minors to work on, his versatility. I think he played 1 game in the outfield those 3 months. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's more of a facetious outlook on this. He has played shortstop in his career. Last year alone, 19 games. There was 5 in 2021 and 17 in 2019. It's like he has played the position. I could see, like we talked, like this is, we talked like preseason. Triolo, like that's what he represents. There is no real backstop. And everyone kind of said, like, well, there's Triolo as a backstop. There's no backup to like a shortstop. And everyone's like, Triolo. That's why he's kind of here. So like I think that's in their plans. Like he was more or less like the backup for shortstop if they needed one. But maybe they don't, like they're comfortable enough. Like we don't need to see more short. Like we know he's there. Let's just get him ready, because the bat's what's most important right now. Let's get him just focus on the bat, get him back to where it needs to be, and then he can come up here and play shortstop. I don't need to worry about him getting reps there. So like you said right now, maybe that's the idea. Like who cares about short? Don't focus about shortstop. Focus about hitting. Or I think this is more outside the box, which already eliminates this as an option. But or you're the young kid, you're the one who's never had major league experience. If we need a plug at shortstop, and we're also going to call you up, maybe he is the third baseman for now. Maybe it's Hayes going to short because Hayes is the vet who we can lean on to say, you carry that load. I'm not going to put all this pressure on Triolo. Still very outside the box. I think that's a very, very low percentage. I'm just saying that, like, to me, that's what this represents two options in doing this. I'm not saying this is likely. I'm just saying, like, in seeing this, I feel it's either they're saying, don't worry about the glove, just focus on the bat, or they're going to say, we're going to put this pressure on Hayes. That's all. Me
I don't
personally,
think that's
I might
happening.
go with the last option. I don't either.
I don't think that's happening. And honestly, like we've talked about it, I still don't know if that's necessarily a good idea. I don't know if you want to move like your elite defensive third baseman just for like a short term fix. You know, like if you're gonna move them, have it be for good. I don't know if I'm kind of messing up that long term. Who knows though? Also, the other thing too, I'm not giving this team any benefit of the doubt when it comes to creativity in any way.
No, there is
Because
none.
like
So again,
they've never done anything half creative like in their entire existence. So and that's not entirely true, but yeah, a little jaded statement there. But
no one speaks in hyperbole over here.
they seem to not really do things creatively. So I wouldn't expect that to be the case. But yeah, certainly something to keep an eye on because again, he's kind of the only option there in AAA, I think, that you could call upon to play those positions and do it in a way that's like semi-interesting, right? Because like Chris Owings, he's there, but there's nothing interesting about Chris Owings.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Nothing. One other guy I do want to talk to in Indianapolis before we kind of move to our series preview to Colin Selby. He is having a really good May, hasn't given up a run. He's striking out a bunch of batters. Yeah, just keep it. He's pitched scoreless outings. Let's see, since April 12th. He's pitched in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10 games. He's only given up a run in one of those. And he's, like I said, striking out a lot of people, not walking a ton. He's looked really impressive since kind of starting off the season a little bit shaky. Mm-hmm. And we saw Colin Selby a little bit in spring training. He got his first taste of AAA last year, had a really good season in AA. The stuff is great. So we talked last week about maybe there's someone in this bullpen who needs to go, Dwayne Underwood Jr. If he goes, Colin Selby's probably your guy that you're looking to, at least like that next guy up, probably Colin Selby at this point.
Yep. I like it. I think we talked how he was potentially like this year's De Los Santos. And
we need De Los Santos to be this year's De Los Santos too. But
yeah, we also need him to do that too, right? But yeah, I mean, the first three outings were, I mean, he gave an earned run every time, but since then, it's been good. A 1.59 ERA, 13.5 K per nine, 3.18 walks per nine. I mean, the walks are you want a little bit more, but you can live with that, especially striking out that many, and a batting average of 105. So like you can certainly live with that. But yeah, he's looked very good as a reliever, and this is certainly a team that could use productive relievers. So I'm with it. Probably going to get a little more time down there, but he's doing a good job right now.
Yeah, and he's already on the 40 man, so it wouldn't take like a crazy roster move to get here. But I guess if Underwood's your guy to go, or if you want to give Underwood like a phantom IL stint, whatever. Right. Yeah, Selby kind of looks like that next guy up right now.
Yep, good stuff. All right, do we want to get to the preview then?
Let's do it.
series against the Tigers coming up. The one thing we discussed is May's been awful, but May has seen better teams. April was good. April saw lesser teams. And the one thing the Pirates are doing, they're at least beating up on the good teams, right? So they're doing what they need to do. So hopefully, coming off this win, which is a good win, maybe the Tigers, who are a bad team, this can get the Pirates, the ship righted a little bit, right? It's only a 2-game series, but they're not the greatest team. Maybe this is the series that they can get at least one win, at least split it. But their third and maybe fourth win against, and get maybe back on track to some level.
Yeah. Two-game series in Detroit. Luis Ortiz going up against a guy that we've seen a lot of, in his time in Cincinnati, Michael Lorenzen. And then Rich Hill is going to take on former Rich Hill and Eduardo Rodriguez. I think were teammates on Boston. So
you're right. I think so.
Yeah. Eduardo Rodriguez, who's having a hell of a season. He's like the one Tigers starting pitcher who's performing. He's got a 1.57 ERA. He's 4-2 to start the year in his first 8 starts. So really good stuff from Eduardo Rodriguez so far. But yeah, let's kind of talk about this. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, put it this way: he has, I think, a 1.6 WAR, and the Tigers' starting pitching as a unit has a 1.4 WAR.
Yeah, so there you go. Lorenzen has been their second best guy. So the two guys that we're facing this series are the Tigers' 2 best starting pitchers. Now, Lorenzen hasn't been good by any means. He's been mediocre at best. He was on the IL for a little bit too. So I think this might even be his first start back off the IL. Nope, he came back. He came back last week. 2 weeks ago. Okay. Never mind. It looks like he started the season on the IL, but he's back now. 5 starts.
Either or.
Yeah. Yeah, so those are the two guys that they're going to have to face off against. Again, they're 2 best starting pitchers. Rodriguez has, again, been real good. It's also a lefty, so we know kind of going into the series, game 1, you're probably seeing Chris Owings, you're seeing Ji-Hwan Bae, or you're seeing Tucupita Marcano, you're seeing Ji-Hwan Bae. Second game, you're probably seeing Chris Owings and Rodolfo Castro as far as middle infielders go. Yeah. Couple things, though, to talk about on the Tigers. They said the bullpen, the back end of the bullpen has certainly been their biggest strength so far this year. Their Alex Lang has been really good. Who else has been really good, Denardo? At least lately. Chasen Shreve has been really good lately. Our old boy, friend. Chasen Shreve. He's had a really good May. 5 straight scoreless appearances by Chasen Shreve for the Tigers. So maybe we'll get to see him. I'm sure we will at some point, go in to face like Jack Swinski or something like that. But bullpen's definitely the Tigers' strength. Offensively, not a whole lot there to worry about. Riley Green, probably like their most dynamic player. He's only 22. He's basically hitting league average, but leads the team in stolen bases, plays good defense. He's having himself a good little season for a 22-year-old. He was the 5th overall pick in 2019. So really big prospect coming up. I think at one point he was even a number one. He was either the number 1 prospect in baseball before graduating last year. So
it was close.
Yeah, he was 1, 2, or 3. So definitely a dynamic, talented player in Riley Green. But on the flip side of that, the Tigers also have another really high former prospect who's just not getting it done, and that's Spencer Torkelson. So Spencer Torkelson has had some issues hitting the ball over the fence as a major leaguer. Doesn't really seem to do it very well. He's having just kind of a disaster start to his career. Rough season last year, rough season again this year. He's basically played a full season of Major League Baseball now and has negative 1.4 WAR.
Yeah, not good.
First overall pick.
This Tigers rebuild has been a thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, the to the team, like you said, like the pitching,
Mhm.
the Pirates are gonna face pretty much their best starters. So that's gonna be tough. And you're talking about Pirates team that just simply can't score runs. So it's gonna be a challenge for them. I mean, they're struggling to score runs. They're
Mhm.
facing their better pitcher. One actually is legit. The other one is just a better one for the Tigers. Still not a great pitcher on Ensign. Although he's a guy that I wanted on the Pirates. I think a lot of people would have liked to have him on the
I
Pirates.
think we would have taken him. Yeah.
Like it's not like a knock on him. He is who he is, but it's not like you're facing the second best pitcher on the Tigers, and that's like a good pitcher. But offensively, though, Tigers definitely not good. So as you mentioned, third worst team as far as weighted runs created plus in the league. They're the last in scoring runs. So if you're struggling to score runs, at least you're facing a team that also struggles. And you have some good pitchers going up too. So yeah, like this is going to be interesting to see. It's going to be some tougher pitching, but they're not a good quality team, especially scoring runs. So hopefully, again, this is something that can get the Pirates back on track with. If they can score maybe 3 or 4 runs a game, there's a good chance they could pull out some victories.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I said I think the back end of that bullpen is probably like your biggest concern here. Overall, it's not that great of a bullpen, but like once they get to their 7, 8,
It's
9,
very
like
Pirates-ish
it's
like.
very Pirates like. Yeah, if you can get to if you can get to the front end of the bullpen, the middle reliever guys, then you're cooking. But you don't want to get yourself into a situation where you let the starting pitcher go deep into a game, or you don't capitalize on middle relievers in the middle of the game, and then find yourself up against their better guys. But the Pirates do have Luis Ortiz going game one, who looked fine his first start of the season.
Mhm.
I think everybody can agree that the defense certainly didn't help Ortiz out very much. It was pretty much a disaster defensively, and that led to a bunch of unearned runs. But at the same time, Ortiz also did allow some pretty hard contact throughout the game. So something to look forward to there is how does Ortiz kind of bounce back from that first start? Like I said, it wasn't a bad start by any means, but I wouldn't really necessarily say it was a good start either. It was just like
Exactly.
a start. So how does he come out in game two?
Yeah. Yep, but I was intrigued and excited to see him for game 1, so that doesn't change for game 2 either.
Mhm.
Luis Ortiz can certainly be a good pitcher, and I want to see what he can do again. Again, this is a bad lineup, so could be a good game to see him kind of put it together for and show out. So yeah,
Totally.
tomorrow it's is it a 7 o'clock start?
You're making me look it up.
Of course, I know. Right now, either way, it's a night start, and then
6:40.
Wednesday is an afternoon start.
6:40
Okay.
on Tuesday, 1:10 on Wednesday. Wednesday's game is actually on national TV, MLB Network.
There you go. So everyone can,
Mhm.
Ryan can watch it.
Ryan can watch the game.
There it is. All right. Well, it's been 48 minutes. Let's get on out of here.
Let's do it.
So I guess with that, we'll see you guys tomorrow after the post game, and that's it. So bye-bye.
Let's go Bucks.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.